person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts. So, he loses touch with reality and lives in a world of illusions. By thoughts, I mean specifically chatter in the skull, perpetual and compulsive repetition of words, of reckoning and calculating. I'm not saying that thinking is bad. Like everything else, it's useful in moderation. A good servant, but a bad master. And all so-called civilized peoples have increasingly become crazy and self-destructive because through excessive thinking they have lost touch with reality. That's to say, we confuse science with the real world.
Aloha. Thank you for tuning in to Jaguar Power. This is Kinu Gabriel, and we are here to talk about mind loops. In this incredibly powerful time that we're in, a lot of us are going through changes, transformations, awakenings. We're getting back into our transcendent self, getting back to our ancient roots, our magician roots, our shamanic roots, our alchemical roots, going even deeper into ourselves. So this is a part of a series of consciousness and the mind, a knowledge share and offering that I am creating and giving. And so today, the topic is mental loops. What a deal. What is a mental loop? So, a mental loop is easy to understand if it's pictured once we comprehend the words. So, mental meaning the mind stuff, and we could think of this as like all of the consciousness involved in the aura or the energy bodies. This isn't necessarily just physical, it's the cloud of electromagnetic consciousness, the cloud of etheric consciousness, emotional consciousness, all the various energy bodies that make up our multidimensional self. And loops, which can be considered like a lightning pattern, a brain pattern, a various kind of electrical shape, or a different kind of emotional shape, a behavioral pattern, and specifically rendered and envisioned as an electrical or energetic or conscious pattern in our conscious field that is very strong and is operating very intensely and cannot be broken by common sensual stimulus. So that's what I mean by a mental loop. So the mental loop is kind of like this. So when we're talking to someone and maybe we're fairly open about what's going on, we have various desires in our mind, and we have various concerns about the past or the future or whatnot, but we're fairly open. Maybe we just have an intention to connect, and we're talking to our partner or our best friend or our mother or father or just anyone, and the other person, we'll say person B, so person A is open and person B is in a mental loop. And so this is how it will work. So maybe they're in a mental loop about, let's say, pizza or something. Okay. So you say, person A says, "Hey, how's it going?" Person B says, oh man, I ate this pizza last night. It was great. Person A says, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I had spaghetti. Person B says, oh yeah, spaghetti's cool, but oh man, pizza's way better than spaghetti. Right? You can already kind of see everything that person B, the person with the mental loop, is experiencing is translated inside of the mental loop. So it goes on. So person A says, oh, okay, well, yeah, anyway, I'm going to college next summer. Person B says, oh yeah, man, I bet they have really good pizza parlors at that college. And person A says, okay, yeah, man, I'm sure the food is good. And that one pizza place is great. And the guy says, person B says, oh yeah, but the other pizza place, it's even better. I went there before. We got to go there again. Okay, so you can already kind of see how this is working. And then lastly, person A says, oh, I'm really sad though because, I got an F on my test. And then person B says, oh, it's probably because you didn't eat enough pizza. So in this example, which is very simple, and we could have gone to other things, imagine person B was on a mental loop of Trump or Biden or politics or history or conspiracy theory, whatever it may be. And oftentimes this really can be very detrimental. So speaking of, I think it's clear about what a mental loop is. It's very general, but you can see it everywhere, and it's important to realize that we can also be in mental loops, and we can sort of project that loop onto others, and it gives a very ingenuine and sometimes very painful experience for people that we're interacting with, and for those of us who have experienced mental loops, it can be very painful for us as well. So I think that it's incredibly important to talk about the second factor, and this is basically, why is it important to see a mental loop? Why is it important to be aware of mental loops in ourselves and others? So a mental loop causes a sense of imbalance. It causes a sense of stuckness, and in fact, it kind of creates stuck energy. It's antipode or an antithesis or a kind of opposite to the idea that everything is changing and the now moment is just filled with ever-flowing beauty and newness and novelty. And so when our mind is stuck in any kind of mental loop, whether it be like getting pleasure or avoiding pain or this thing or that person or whatever it might be, every moment that we're stuck in a mental loop, we are creating that sort of denser, stagnant energy in ourselves, and every moment that we're projecting that mental loop onto the environment and, of course, other people, we're giving that stagnant energy and that stuck energy onto others. So why this is important is because stuck energy and stagnant energy is basically what creates types of negative experiences, types of negative karma, different types of negative emotions in ourselves and others. And we want to be free-flowing, and we want to be, like Bruce Lee says, be like water, my friend. So we want to be this kind of adaptable and flexible being that is able to be solid and a core on the inside and soft on the outside, or hard on the inside and soft on the inside, whatever is needed for the environment. But it's neat. Sternness and a sense of perseverance and a sense of straightforwardness can be very needed. Sometimes we need to be a rock or a mountain, but that mountain or that rock runs its course. And so in this particular scenario of mental loops, it's already ran its course, and it's now become a loop, right? Because there was an attachment to that thing. So instead of going forward and then sort of dissolving, it went back and sort of ate itself. So we don't want this negative energy, we don't want the stagnant energy, we don't want to give it to others, and also it's incredibly painful when we receive it from the environment, from others. It feels like other people are listening to us, it feels like we're not getting our point across. Oftentimes we get triggered because we want to say something, and the experience and the phenomena of not being able to actually communicate our feelings and our emotions to others is incredibly painful and sometimes incredibly triggering for us, for those of us who are dealing with traumas around, not being needed, or not being heard and not being accepted, not being seen, and things of that nature. So this is just something that we really want to be aware of in ourselves and others, and it really allows for a lot of ease and grace in our life once we're aware of it. So the third factor is really, what can we do about it? Now that we know what it is, which is basically an energetic pattern or conscious pattern, and this sort of stuck pattern shows itself in relationships, shows itself in conversations, and even things just like doing something for someone, and you do the same thing for someone if you're in a mental loop, thinking that that thing is good for that person, but because you're actually in a mental loop, you're not really in the flow and the dynamism of the cosmos, of the movement of the waves of consciousness, and you miss the beats, so to speak, and maybe that person gets hurt, or that person doesn't need that thing, or you doubt yourself and you doubt giving to that person because you think, oh man, they wanted it before, how come they don't want it now? And again, it's a loop, right? So the biggest thing that we can do after we become aware of what a loop is and what it is in our actual experience in our life when we're talking to people and so forth, is we can breathe, number one, which is always an important step. And we can really start to understand what got us in the loop in the first place, what we're so focused on, the quintessence, the essence, the thing beyond words, the feeling, the emotion, the intuitive sense, the intuitive feeling of what exactly we're stuck on. And then this allows us to kind of see ourselves, right? So after the awareness, we focus a little bit deeper into what we're stuck in, and we see ourselves a little bit deeper, or this is the same version, we see the other person a little bit deeper. We see, I wonder why they're so, what is it that they're so stuck on, and maybe why are they so stuck on it? And so we just dig a little bit deeper into who are we, or who is the I that is presenting this mental loop to us. And after we get clear about what the actual object of the loop is, intending and emotionally bringing a sense of forgiveness and compassion, and maybe even a renunciation, maybe even a little bit of detachment, energy, consciousness to whatever that loop is, and then transcending it to a different dimension. So dimensional consciousness and looking at things in different dimensions is essentially the key to breaking or transcending or hopping out of any kind of mental loop that we're experiencing, whether it be in ourselves and others. Dimensions are the key. And what I mean by dimensions are dimensions of consciousness. There are different dimensions of consciousness, and it's all about the kind of perception and perspective that we're looking from. And so if we can get ourselves to get clear about what we're in a mental loop about, and then try to broaden our perception, broaden our horizon, accept the fact that we don't know everything. We might not actually know everything about what we're looping around, because a loop feels complete, which is why when we're in a mental loop, there's a sense of hubris and pride, and even a sense of like wholeness and fulfillment, where we think that the content of our mental loop is complete. We know everything about it. It's the truth. It's solid. It's real. It's formed. It's birthed. It's a growing tree with rings around it. And in this particular case, that's not true for the mental loop. We can actually break the loop by opening a hole in our perception and being open-minded and bringing a new dimension, new information to whatever the content of our loop is. Going completely left field, if we're talking about baseball, start talking about sweet potatoes and cooking, and go to a different dimension of thought that is maybe related, or at least allows us to see what we're looking at in a bigger picture. So for instance, say I'm mental looping about my girlfriend and I'm really upset. And so my mental loop is focused on my sense of respect. So I feel very disrespected because various stimulus I experienced, I experienced my girlfriend doing this and saying this to me, and then I was triggered and I reacted in a certain way, and I felt this and I felt that, and then I made conclusions, and then those conclusions created a conscious loop. So now I'm in a conscious loop that my girlfriend disrespected me, and this whole story. And so when I can become aware that I'm in a mental loop, and I can look a little bit deeper into what that loop is, in which case we're saying it's respect and wanting respect and a trigger around being respected. Maybe I haven't even done the shadow work. Maybe I don't know about past lives, or I don't know about triggers, and I don't know about it started before. But at the very least, I can look at myself and I can say, my mind is in a loop, and I'm unable to think about this situation in any kind of other way than what I'm thinking. So I want to. So let me try to expand my mind. And then it looks like this. Like, well, what if she didn't disrespect me? Or what if she did disrespect me, but she didn't know it? Or what if she did disrespect me, but it wasn't in the way that I thought it was? Or what if there was no disrespect at all, and I am simply seeing or feeling disrespect because of something in my own mind, right? And when you start to ask questions, what if, is it possible, what else can be, and different things of this nature, those questions are tools to expand our mind. And in fact, all questions are tools to expand our mind. Questions do not have an inherent answer. Questions are actually meditation starters for our reality. Questions are how we can meditate on, ponder on our reality and get to a sort of deeper truth. And so when we ask a question to another person, there is a sense of stillness and patience, giving that other person the space to really ponder and meditate on the question that we ask. Oftentimes we ask questions and they're very non-meaningful because we're expecting a very robotic, automatic response. But questions in themselves are really meditations and do not necessarily need immediate responses or answers. So that's a little bit about mind loops. We went over what they are, why they're important, and a little bit of how to get out of them. Very related to this topic is what the mind is, which is another video and another section. So feel free to tune in. Make sure to join my Discord if you're interested in getting counsel or teachings or lectures or readings of the astrological kind or intuitive kind, whatever you prefer. And make sure to subscribe below and tune in for more knowledge shares and offerings. Kia kua ho. God bless you.